Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, I wanted to go through with you guys my first tournament recap of the year. This is for the first Bassmaster Southern Open of the year on Kissimmee Chain of Lakes. It took place February 3rd to the 5th, and I just wanted to go through it with you guys, the good, the bad, the ugly, some stuff that took place, and I hope you guys enjoy. I'm back from Florida. I made it back home all safe and sound, and I just wanted to go through my tournament with you guys. So this tournament was one of the more unusual tournaments as far as Florida. It was really weird. It was really cold leading up to the tournament, and it just set up for a lot of weird scenarios that happened on the lake that I don't think many people seen coming. Just with what we all thought was going to happen, um, and I really do try to stay away from as much dock talk as I can, just because I like trying to figure it out on my own and just really honing in on what works for me the best out there on the water. And while I was out there leading up to the tournament, it had been really cold, and I opted to stay offshore for the most part, just because that's where my confidence is at. I've had some really good things happen offshore when you do kind of collide with a school of them out there, and you can just get right pretty quickly fishing offshore in Florida if you get around them. But the one challenge that comes with that is during the tournament it becomes bumper boats quite often, and it's just really hard to find nowadays. It's just really hard to find places off by yourself, kind of. So I knew kind of going into the tournament it would be bumper boats in a few areas, but I had a good practice leading up and had a few ideas of areas that I wanted to concentrate on. What I really wanted to do is, there was so many people on the water and there was so much happening. There was like 3 different tournaments that happened like the week we were practicing. So there was a lot of pressure happening out there. So I was just kind of marking areas that I seen fish on the graph. I was confident they were bass. Some areas I didn't even fish. I was just planning on fishing throughout the tournament and expanding on areas that I did get bit on throughout the tournament, because I wanted to just be able to move with the fish during the tournament and run new stuff if I had to. And that just allowed me to keep a more open mind as the tournament went on as well, if I had to adjust. And so day one, my offshore stuff really didn't pop off like I thought it would first thing. And so for the first couple hours, I just kind of bebopped around and tried to really just figure out what depth zone they were doing, what they were in, and get around some boats as well, because there was some stuff that obviously you might have to put off. There was too many boats, you can't get on it. But then I actually went shallow midday and caught a few fish flipping just on isolated reed stretches on Lake Toho. And that's also where I spent my whole tournament. I stayed on Toho for the full 2 days of the tournament. And for the majority of my practice, I wanted to stay on Toho as well, just because I get scatterbrained really easily. I don't like being spread out. I want to be able to, that way if I stay on one lake, I know, if stuff changes, it helps me kind of adjust quicker on the fly. And I just don't like having a lot of variables in my tournament. So I opted to stay on Toho as well. And the shallow bite just never really showed up like I thought. Like a few of my buddies down there thought, that we all just, talking with the way it warmed up so quickly. And it never really came together for me on day one. I mean, I think I caught 3 or 4 keepers and no real big ones. I actually caught everything I caught like on stuff that I didn't even fish up shallow. I just said, screw it, it looks right. And I just went. Because I noticed throughout the ending of practice and the beginning of the tournament, they were leaving a few of the offshore areas that I had, because in practice I would scan these isolated clumps of hydrilla, and you would see either one big one kind of like owning that clump of hydrilla off to the side of it, or there would be like 5 or 6 of them and they'd be like 2-pounders on a clump, because I'd fish for them and there would be some clumps that I could go behind people and catch a couple fish, kind of going more finessey. And one clump I actually caught 3 and 3 casts, like the day, like on that Monday or Sunday before the tournament. So I was pretty confident what I was seeing was bass, and I could just never get any of them to bite. I could see them on the 360. It was just the amount of pressure we had that week was quite immense. It was just it was a lot. So those fish just got really weary to a few things and in a couple areas, and it just never really came together. And Florida, it's feast or famine. I mean, if you're not right on top of them, right on that sweet spot fire, and it usually turns out to be a grind. So just never really could stick with them on that first day. Ended up weighing in, I think, 411 for 3 fish, and I was in the hundreds. And day 2 came around, and I really wanted to mix it up. I had an area on the north end of the lake that I never really got on the first day. I ended my day on it the first day because I had a late boat draw the first day. So I figured I'd get an early boat draw that second day, the morning, and I'd be able to start in that area. And I started off, and right off the bat, I catch a 5 real quick, and just on a spook, and then I catch a 2 1/4 a little, like an hour later. It really wasn't fast and furious, but it was a good area. I just had to grind it out. Had 2 bites in there, and then decided to run down to where I'd caught a 7 and a couple other good ones in practice. And this was midday now, and I ended up I was targeting some areas were isolated clumps, like just on a shell bed. Like they'd be one over here, then there'd be another one like 300 yards over here. Like I was kind of just clump hopping. I'd fish one and then put my trolling motor on like 100 and zoom over to the next one, slow down, fish it. Then I just kind of had to zigzag across the flats and hit these isolated clumps. Because that's what I kind of noticed throughout practice too, is like if you find some isolated cover out there with grass clumps and stuff, like that's usually what the bigger fish are holding on. And I just never really could get anything rolling with that. But I did show up to this one shallower flat in like 5 foot, 4 to 5 foot, and I fire over to this clump with my spook, and I have one hit me 3 times and fouled it up. Like it hit the first time the fish hit my bait so hard, it made the bait fly up in the air and do a twirl, hits the water, and it hits it again, and it had it all messed up on my front hook with the line. So I had to reel it in real quick, fix the line so I could get another cast on to this fish. And while I was lifting my bait to fix it, get the line off the front hook, unloop it, my co-angler threw right on that fish where it blew up. Like there was still ripples where it blew up on me at. And he ended up catching that fish, and it was a 4-pounder. We weighed it, and as he was unhooking that fish, I threw in there again and catch another 3-pounder. So, I'm all for everyone having fun on the water. Like I want my co's to catch fish. I want everyone to have an enjoyable time in the tournament, because that's ultimately what we're there to do, is have fun and learn and catch fish. But in a tournament scenario where the weights were how they were and the fishing was really as brutal as it was this week, that 4-pound bite would have went really far. And I was like literally in the motion of going to cast back on it, and he was fighting it. So like, and I didn't even know he threw on it. And this is something I can kind of preface to other co-anglers out there, is like, look, I mean, there's kind of like an unwritten code, like, casting on, I'm all for, I mean, I'm pretty easygoing as far as casting wherever you really want. Just don't cast over me. Or if something like that occurs where a fish bites my bait, it's a visible topwater blow up. Like in my head, that's my fish. But it was my co-angler's first open, and I don't really think people don't understand sometimes in these tournaments what that one bite can do for us as boaters. Even as far as salvaging your season. I ended up weighing in. That was the last bite we got of the day. So I wasn't really able to put anything else together after that. But I had 10 pounds for 3 fish. Like I had 3 good ones. And with that other one, I could have had 4 for almost 14 something. And my cumulative weight could have been up around 19 pounds, and that would have put me in the 50s in the standings overall, and that's salvageable. I mean, I have to have, 2 more really, really solid finishes in these opens, because like I said before, these divisions are 3 tournaments each, and so salvaging your tournament like that with a 50th is huge, and what I mean by salvaging is for qualifying for the Elite Series. So, and ultimately in these very tough tournaments, when guys end up qualifying, they don't qualify through their good ones. They qualify through that one tournament that they scraped together and saved their day or just saved their tournament. and got that one or two key bites to really do that. And so I didn't get mad at the guy. We didn't like fight or anything. I'm really easygoing. Like, it takes a lot to get me ramped up. So I just kind of let it go. But I told him after that, I just said, dude, like, we gotta work together here a little bit, because these bites are very important. Because we weren't getting a lot. Nobody was really smashing them. I mean, some guys were catching some big ones, but overall, it was a really, really tough tournament. So having that happen, it definitely discouraged me a little bit, but it didn't spin me out or nothing. And that's another thing I wanted to kind of tell you guys, is when things like that happen in your tournament day, you really just got to put it in the back of your mind and just forget about it. Don't really you can't let it ruin your day. You can't let it spin you out or anything, because that'll end your day if you let that bother you. I mean, you can go back to the house after the tournament and moan and gripe about it to your buddies until you're blue in the face, and that's fine. That's what buddies are for, to talk about your fishing day together. But when you're during the tournament, in that moment, you got to keep your head in it, and you just got to keep fishing. And really, something like that happening if it is your co-angler's first tournament, I mean, they don't really understand, what that really means. So it's not worth ruining both your guys' rest of your day in the water either. That's one thing I could kind of give advice to, is like in the mornings before you guys blast off, maybe just have a quick little talk with your co-angler in the morning, and just smooth that part of it over. Make sure you guys are on the same page with each other as far as casting and everything like that, because bites like that go a very long ways in these big tournaments, when 40, 50 places is a pound or two. So goes a long way. So overall, guys, I ended up finishing 117th out of 225 people, so about mid-pack. And yes, I would have liked to have done a lot better, but you know what, guys? We got a long season left ahead of us, and I can still qualify through the Northern Opens. I can still win a Southern Open and punch my ticket to the Classic. So, yeah, it was a rough way to start, but we got the ship right a little bit right after that. We ended up finishing second in a BFL, so on Toho. So I was able to get a little bit of revenge out there, but I appreciate you guys following along. I caught pretty much everything in the tournament, really, on a spook, and on day one I caught a couple flipping a big worm just around some reeds and stuff on a 3/4 ounce Eco Pro tungsten weight, and that was about it, really. I mean, I kept it really simple, and even in the BFL I kept it really simple. Spook and a jerkbait. So now I am back home from Florida. I just kind of unpacked everything and reorganized everything, and just kind of getting ready to get in Cherokee mode for the second Southern Open of the year. I'm going to be home for a couple weeks, probably pushing around some snow, making a little side money, and then going to get into Cherokee mode. We head out. That tournament is the last week of March, first week of April, so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to have some other fishing endeavors here while I'm home to get out to you guys, so I'm excited about that. So keep on following along, guys. I appreciate all the support, and it's only going to go up from here, guys. I'm excited for the rest of the year to get ramped up, and I will see you guys in the next one.